Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Men on Fire here on Soul Mechanic TV and Soul Mechanic Radio. I've decided to try something a little bit different this time around, and I'm going to record this up in my loft over my garage, and so I can post this video on Soul Mechanic TV and then also on my podcast, use the audio, Soul Mechanic Radio. So I have a topic today which I think that you will all identify with because it's something we've all done. It's getting angry. Yes, today's topic is how to deal with anger. And we've all been there. We've all been there. And many times in my life, especially when I was younger, I was there a lot. I don't know why particularly. I didn't have an unhappy childhood, but I just felt quick to anger if something didn't go right with me or with things I was doing. I would get angry quickly. And in today's world, with what's happening to us presently, this is July 27th, 2020. So the middle of summer, and we're getting ready almost pretty much for a second wave of this coronavirus, COVID-19. And, we started to open up a little bit and got some more cases. So it's tough. We've all been through lockdowns and lots of anxiety and frustration and loss of employment, and sometimes just receiving a little bit of money from the government, whatever that is for you. I hope you're doing well and are healthy and happy. But today, we'll deal with the subject of anger, because in times like this, we get so frustrated and anxious that we can anger very, very quickly. I mean, just the other day, somebody butted in front of me to get into a line to a grocery store. And, I didn't get angry because I don't get that excited anymore with things like that happen. But I said, "Hey, brother, this line's back here, right?" And, he didn't realize what he was doing because we're all a little bit preoccupied. And that brings me to something else. I think we're also all feeling a little bit offended, or personally offended at things that are happening out there. And, kudos to all the people that were involved in the women's movement, the We Too movement, the Black Lives Matter, of course, and it's absolutely horrendous what's taken place to people of color and indigenous people and different sexual orientations, and all that should never have happened. However, obviously it has, and I'm the first one to say we need to change. However, there's some things that are pretty small, and I'm not sure if they're just people are being petty now or what, but it seems like people are getting offended about the least little thing. I mean, I just watched the news last night, actually, and I was a former member of the Canadian Navy, and I noticed on there, in the little ticker tape that was going by, was saying that the Canadian Navy wants to adopt a different name for some of their rank structure. Now, the enlisted men their rank starts with ordinary seaman, able seaman, leading seaman, master seaman, and goes on up from there. This is something we adopted from the British Navy. That's the names, that's the terminology. It's been hundreds of years. People have been called that, part of the rank structure. However, now people don't like the seaman term. I mean, it's spelled S-E-A-M-A-N, so it refers to somebody that goes to sea, to sails on the sea. It's not the S-E-M-E-N one, which sounds the same, spelled differently. And, it's not a bad word or anything. It's not a swear word. It's something that males actually have in their body. And it's part of life and creating life. So it's not a bad thing. I don't know why somebody would just want to change that title, that name. It doesn't make any sense to me. So in that regard, I was wondering, are people just offended, just acting out because they're offended of little things like that? It just doesn't make much sense. So there's so much anger now out there through the frustration and anxiety we've all been through. And, this is not a political statement at all, but I know that wherever you are, different world leaders have been handling things differently. Obviously, we know the ones that haven't been doing very well. I won't mention his name here. However, we all know who that is. And then through the virus, and we've been through lockdowns and lineups and shortages of things, all things we're not used to in today's society, because we've had a cornucopia of things to deal with that have always been there, at least in my lifetime. And I'm 58 years old, so born in 1962. So I've always known abundance, always. It's never really been that shy as it is now. But I wanted to talk about 4 big ideas that will help you deal with anger. You ready? Here's number 1. The first idea to help you deal with anger is wait. That's right. Really simple. Just wait. So in psychology, there's this thing called stimulus and response. And so if you're stimulated by something, then generally there's also a response depending on how long the time period is in between. So if you could imagine you're stimulated by something, for example, I was stimulated by that person that butted in front of me at the grocery store. And then how long did it take me to react? Not really that long. I didn't react, instantaneously, thought about it for a second, and then just, gently reminded him that this is not acceptable and you have to go on the line. But many of us, due to this frustration and anxiety we're going through, actually have that knee-jerk reaction and are acting by impulse. So the time distance between stimulus and reaction, if we can lengthen that, just take a few seconds, a few beats, just a minute or two, even if you can, to just take some time and think that through. What just took place? Why am I so angry? And then have a logical response instead of, reacting and maybe yelling or pushing or shoving or whatever that may be. And, our reptilian mind is still there, where we're designed to react instantaneously upon attack. But that generally doesn't happen too much anymore. We don't have to take those things into account so much as years and years ago. And, people are living on that impulse, that knee-jerk reaction, which is really the little me, the ego within that's trying to get out. How dare you do that to me? And then it goes from there. And my good friend Brendan Burchard calls this the drama mind, where we're locked into the drama of whatever's taking place. And, that's part of the reason that so many of these reality TV shows and drama shows on TV, we love them. We love to watch them because we're watching somebody else's drama. We're living it out vicariously. And it, may or may not help you get your fix for drama. So maybe you won't have as much drama in your own life, but I think a lot of times it's a carryover, and we get programmed from watching some of these shows that this is how we're supposed to respond. We should respond like right away. I'm going to yell at them. I'm going to slap that person across the face, or whatever that case is that we're watching on TV and being programmed to do. So that's the drama mind. And really, if you think about it, getting angry makes you a victim of this ego and drama mind. You're not a victor of life. You're a victim now of this way that you've been programmed to respond and to act. And if you would just learn to wait that little bit before you react, so there's a stimulus and then wait, just don't jump into it. Just wait for a few beats, a few seconds, as long as you need to let your mind, your logical mind, think that through and decide on a proper response to the situation. And listening helps too. Perhaps even listening to somebody explain to you why they jumped in front of line or why they pulled out in front of you in a car. it just, if you listen and wait, that allows you to react appropriately. So let's jump to number 2 on the list of how to deal with anger, and that is wonder. Wondering where your anger came from. Where the heck did all this anger come from? So when we're responding so impulsively to people, when they do things or say things to us, do we ever wonder, where's it coming from? Is it really their fault? Is it really what they said or what they did? Or is it from us, within us, from our past? You know, many times we live in our lives in the past, and we allow this to build up like pressure in a pipe, an old rusty pipe that someone just has to bump into, and bang, it bursts. And we're just right on them. And it's nothing they actually did or said. It annoyed us, sure, but we just let go on them. And it's not necessary because it's something that happened in our past, something that it hurt us, and now we're conditioned to respond to anytime anyone even remotely resembles anything that is close to that. Sometimes it doesn't have to be as close to that at all. It's just something, and we're just PO'd about our past. And that's living in your past, folks. And you know, there is no other moment than there is right now in this present moment. And the past doesn't exist. Neither does the future, because the past is the past. It's done. It's over. And the future doesn't exist either because it hasn't happened yet. And what we're supposed to do is learn from our experiences we had in the past, to learn what to do in this present moment and what not to do. And when we do that, and we use our past as a teacher, instead of getting embroiled and not letting things go and not forgiving people and forgetting what took place, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's all over. It's all finished. It can't be recreated, but we live it over and over and over in our mind. And did you know that the magazine Scientific American, they actually published that scientists have discovered that about 50% of things we remember are not true. So we make up stories in our mind about the past. Yeah, sure, something actually took place, but then we've rerun it so many times in our mind, we're making stuff up. We're just making it up. So, you know, let go of that past so we don't act so impulsively, and live in the moment so we can create a great future. And this way you can find out what's triggering it in you. What things that happened, what is it in the past that triggered this emotional impulse to let loose? And then maybe you can discover that and deal with that. Perhaps you need some professional help, some coaching or psychological help, or hypnotherapy, whatever that happens to be, to help you deal with that. And it's very, very therapeutic to go through those things. Don't be afraid to try that. And, you know, what I did to help myself with this was, of course, I mentioned I was very, very angry. Had a problem with anger in my younger years. And I would get so angry sometimes because I was so frustrated and anxious that I'd be at a stoplight in a car, and if somebody pulled up beside me and they just pulled away a little bit faster, I had to go. Like, that person's racing me. I got to win. At all costs, I got to win. I might even just steer over the car into that person to get them out of here. Like, I had to win at all costs. And I never felt good. It never made me feel good. And many times, of course, you'd pull up to the next stoplight. You're both beside each other again. Yeah, that didn't do anything at all. So what I decided to do was to become an observer. So I imagined myself sitting in the passenger seat, looking back upon myself who was driving. And as I drove the car, and when I started to build up with anger, the same sort of thing that was happening, then I'd play the observer, and I'd have the observer saying, "Why are you getting so angry?" And I respond, well, I don't know. Did you not see that? Like, that person wants to race me. I got to win. I can't let them go. No, well, why are you like that? It doesn't help anything. Yeah, but I have to win. I'm frustrated. If I don't win, I'm worthless. I have to prove my worth to myself. Yes, but if you don't take part in this race, will you still have your vehicle? Yes. Will you still be able to go home tonight to your wife and children? Yes. Will you still have your job? Yes. Then why are you racing this person? Well, I don't know. I don't really know. So it allowed me to, again, go back to number one and wait for a second or two to think about this. And by the time I was done with that, I was no longer angry, and I let that person go, and it didn't bother me anymore. So I kept doing that until it just didn't bother me. I didn't get angry anymore at that. And I use that for many things in my life. It's kind of stepping outside of yourself and looking back at yourself and asking yourself questions. Sounds maybe a little bit weird, but it works. You can try that yourself if you like. So many times we get so angry because all we want in life, as a lot of people want, is just to feel valued and appreciated and respected. And many times we don't get that. I mean, especially at places of employment, there's not that many great bosses or managers out there, guys. There's, just like, well, you get your yearly review. Oh, thanks. Do I get a raise? No raise today. Oh, but really, what you really wanted was a pat on the back saying, man, you're doing great work. You're doing well. I mean, the company's doing well. You're doing really well. We appreciate you. We respect you for who you are. You always show up on time. We love that about you. I mean, if you were just told that, you might even forego a raise and say, yeah, you know what? I'm here because they appreciate me. And many times that's all we really need to get by in life. But we rarely get it. So it builds and nobody appreciates me. Nobody respects me. Nobody takes the time to tell me I'm valued. I'll show them how valued I am. I'm going to get so angry, they're going to figure out my value. Doesn't work. But that's one of the reasons that we get angry. So number 3 on the list of how to deal with your anger is, I don't know why I'm mad. And there is a reason like I just mentioned in the last one, we wonder what made us so mad. You don't even know you're mad. So if that happens, what I tend to do is to ask yourself, if I was my highest self, so if you were who you really ascribe to be, somebody that helps people, loves people, is loved back, takes the high road almost all the time. If you're that ascribed to be to that person, what would that person do when someone cuts in front of them with the car? How would they react? So you can ask yourself, how would that person react? Or how would your older self react? Let's say 20 years from now, 25 years from now, when you're older than you are now. And because you're older, you've got more experience. And that's part of life. As we live longer, we get more experience in life. So our older self, who maybe is that person that we wanted to become, looks back and say, listen, bub, don't do that. Don't get so impulsive. Don't live with the drama mind. There's no need to. You're never going to get to where I am now, and that's where you want to go. So why are you acting this way? And the last one that I use, actually, I got from Neil Donald Walsh as well. And that's to ask yourself, what would love do now? What would love do now if somebody butt in front of me in the lineup to get to the grocery store? If somebody turned out of the street and cut me off on the way to work? If people cut me off on the highway on my commute? What would love do now? And I think you could probably answer that yourself, because with love, you'd be acting out of kindness, compassion, empathy for them. They cut me off in the car because somebody was sick in their family and they had to get home to them. Or somebody was in an accident, they had to get to the hospital. Or maybe none of that's true, but who cares? Let them go. Just let them go. If somebody's speeding, let them go. Move over for them. Let them go. There may be a very good reason for it. And if there isn't, they'll learn eventually that that's not what you should do. So what would love do now? A very important question to ask yourself to help you deal with your anger. And number 4 on the list of how to deal with anger is well-being, your health and your happiness. So how can you help other people? And I find by being of service, by helping others, it raises you up and gives you a new purpose. But why would you be angry with people? How can you be angry with people when you're trying to help them, first of all? I mean, some people don't want your help, and you can only offer it so many times, and then you have to walk away. It's just not their time. It's not their time to get your help, because they don't realize it, what they need. Or you're not the right person who's not saying it in the right way for them. Just like what I'm telling you today. Maybe it makes sense to you, or maybe you've heard it before and you didn't get it and now you're getting it, or vice versa. It all depends on how you perceive the message, because our perceptions are all unique. And think of people like Nelson Mandela, for example, somebody who was incarcerated in Africa and just broke stones in the hot sun and humid air day after day after day and year after year after year. And the only crime he committed was being black. That's it. And they finally let him out. And what did he do? Did he get upset? Did he grab a gun or a machete and try to harm people? No. He acted with kindness, compassion, and empathy for those people that treated him wrongly. So he forgave. He didn't forget, but he forgave. And just think of the millions and millions and millions of people that were served by that throughout the world, not just Africa, but throughout the world, to use his example to how to get above that drama mind, get above that ego, and live without that, live without the anger that he repressed for so long. I'm sure initially he was terribly angry, but after a while, he couldn't let that eat him up, which is what is going to happen to you. And that's part of your wellness and your happiness. How can you be healthy and happy living with that stress of always constantly being angry with people? Just let it go. Let it go. And that way you can help yourself become who you truly were born to be. Now, I've tried this video and audio concept to see how it would work. I'd love it if you would like and subscribe. And I'd love it too if you would just leave me a comment so I know that you're listening. And I'd love to, it doesn't matter, negative, positive comment, I'm in for them all. So anyway, thank you so much for listening today. And I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. Bye for now.